Unapologetically Gangster, the Don Kawand story. Book 1, Story 7. Subtitle, Marlboro and Coney Island. The next day after the night of horror, Moms made it clear to wait in the front of the school until she got there. Unfortunately, the maniac showed up first. I was doing my homework on the steps when he appeared out of nowhere. His face was screwed, and although it was in the middle of the winter, there was sweat in between his eyebrows. It dripped off his nose as if he had been running.
"You got the key to the house?"
He asked, although he already knew that I did. I shook my head yes, and he said,
"Well, come on, let's go."
I was a terrified young boy and reluctantly followed him to the crib. It was a long and slow walk, unaware of his intent, but knew that he did not pick me up out of love. The only reason he came was to see my mother. That was the only way he was going to be able to see her. And it worked. Once inside the crib, Mr. Maniac is pacing back and forth like an animal in a small cage. At times he's peeking out of the 6th floor window. My small body sat on the sofa in the living room, watching his every move, wondering what was next. A few minutes later, there was a frantic knock on the door.
"Kawand, you in there?"
Mama Love screamed through the door. Her voice was music to my ears. But before getting up off the sofa, Mr. Maniac was already stepping quickly to the door. He stepped into the hallway, and I heard a brief commotion. Mom rushed into the house and almost squeezed the life out of me, her hands trembling as she tried to comfort me. Moments later, uniformed police officers showed up. Mama Love explained to the police how my uncles John and Harold had been tussling with this coward that had taken me from school. My uncles chased them out of the building. They both returned shortly, and to my surprise, old boy had gotten away. He outran them and the police before scaling a fence and getting away. At least that's what I got from their conversation with the police. It seemed like the police were always at our apartment, but this time I guess it scared Mom to death. The thought of him hurting me hit her hard. Therefore, we went on a run for some time, long enough for me to attend another elementary school where my behavior towards the teacher and other kids began to escalate. But eventually, we returned to Marlboro, and I was glad to be back in PS 248 with kids that I was somewhat familiar with. Light and I grew closer as fighting with the Italian kids after school grew. We had knuckle fights, snowball fights, and all-out brawls with the Italian kids that we knew were related to the mob. It was a turbulent year, as most of the kids knew why I had left school abruptly and eventually returned. No one said much to me, but a bitter young boy was born, especially after Mama Love lost her job. Wearing sneakers with holes in the bottom and jeans with patches over the holes on the knee became common. Life as a kid was rough, and being poor was no fun. But the following summer, in 1980, things would get messy between another young troublemaker and 30 Rock and myself, and it got ugly. This is the end of Story 7, the Don Kawand story. Stay tuned for Story 8. Unapologetically Gangster, the Don Kawand story. Book 1, Story 8. Subtitle, Marlboro and Coney Island. School was out for the summer, and I've been running with the ski crew. They would introduce me to Coney Island. My first full summer living in Marlboro Projects, the ski crew trooped it up the 5 long blocks to Coney Island Beach. Mostly 20 to 30 kids from 30 Rock. We'd stop at the local Key Food on Stillwell Avenue and a small shopping area. We all had towels wrapped around our heads as if we were Muslims. Those with money grabbed a couple of packs of 50-cent cookies and quarter juices for the walk, and those without money stole their cookies and juices. We had to roll deep just in case we encountered any Italian kids or Coney Island misfits. Being a young and naive boy, I had no idea at the time of the gritty boys that were brewing only blocks away from the amusement park. We were kids on the beach without any adult supervision. We were just having fun, lots of fun, in the dirty beach water and sand. But as kids, we could care less. Once we got up underneath the boardwalk, we'd race to the water. The last one in the water is who we buried in the sand. Sometimes we poured water over the kid's head that was buried in the sand. That didn't last long, as we realized the seriousness of the sand smothering someone. Going to the beach every day was cool, and we never ran into anyone that made us feel uncomfortable. But eventually, the ski crew got into something with a young boy from 30 Rock. This young boy, without reason, came for the crew. He was testing us, whether he knew it or not. Keep in mind that we were too young to understand that we are going to grow into being gangsters. But even as kids, looking back, you could tell who would become certified early. Therefore, I'm paying homage to a certified gangster, a Marlboro legend, both on the streets and unfortunately behind them bars as an adult, upstate New York, in one of the worst penitentiaries ever. I believe true gangsters are born with certain instincts and fearlessness. Before knowing who this kid was, he had challenged the entire ski crew. It was crazy, only because he lived in 30 Rock. Okay, as a crew, we wrote ski crew on the building walls with black magic markers. This young boy from the 13th floor wakes up one day and decides to put a line through our name and write, "Fuck the ski crew." For days we wondered who the hell it was. Eventually a rumor surfaced that it was Abe, a brown-skinned kid that lived on the 13th floor. Now remember when I tell you that true gangsters have certain instincts and fearlessness about themselves. Believe that. Okay, now check out how we moved at an early age. Out of the entire ski crew, something instinctively made me want to retaliate. We went back and forth for about a week with the graffiti. It started in 30 Rock, and I began to address him by name on the walls and elevator doors. And yes, this young troublemaker was fearless. Abe pulled a move that not only displayed the heart he was born with, but his willingness to carry on. He found out where I lived and brought the disrespectful graffiti to my front door. Now I was living on the 6th floor, so he had to move in and out of the building like a ninja. The graffiti was very disrespectful, with sexual graphic images. With a black magic marker, he drew a man's head with another man's manhood in his mouth. The young 12-year-old boy was very artistic. That morning after opening the door, the image made my eyebrows raise, thinking to myself, this kid is crazy. Mind you, I had no idea what he looked like, nor where this kid laid his head at. But there was nothing else for me to do but find out where he lived and do the same. Both of our mothers at this time had gotten involved. We'd gone too goddamn far. Eventually we came face to face. A mutual friend from the building talked us into making peace before it got out of control, even though we had already taken it to another level. In time, we'd not only become good friends, but family. And as teenagers, we'd do some things that I'd rather not discuss right now. And we'd come face to face with about 20 kids from Coney Island. They would be armed with sticks and baseball bats and plans on hurting me badly. This is the end of Story 8, the Don Kawand story. Stay tuned for Story 9. Unapologetically Gangster, the Don Kawand story. Book 1, Story 9, subtitled Marlboro and Coney Island. Now, Coney Island and Marlboro had a serious dislike for one another. I started to notice the animosity in junior high school. I was fresh out of a year worth of therapy because my behavior was growing out of control. While in the 6th grade, my behavior got me kicked out of PS 248. Mama Love gave me the worst ass whooping in my life. Then she did me dirty. She transferred me to a school in Brownsville, not too far from Brookdale Hospital. Yes, at 11 years old, she made me take 2 trains and walk at least 15 blocks for an education. It took me almost 2 hours to get to school, which meant I was up and on the move by 6:30 a.m. Every morning. I was on my own. Halfway to the school, I had to check in with my Uncle Harold and his new wife Gracie. They were living on East 98th Street, directly across the street from Brookdale Hospital. And on the weekends, I enjoyed hanging out over there, helping them with their newborn baby girl, my little cousin, Kiki. But anyway, it was short-lived because it was near the end of the school year when I got transferred. Once in junior high school, and even after a year of speaking to a psychiatrist, I was still unable to control the rage inside the bitter young boy. Cefalo Junior High School, which is about 25 to 30 blocks away from the projects, is where I started the 7th grade. It was smack dead in the middle of nothing but racist white Italians. As kids from Marlboro, the hard shit came from the white kids surrounding us and the black kids from Coney Island. Most of the kids that attended Cefalo lived on my side of the projects. Marlboro consists of 28 buildings. All are 7 stories, except 3 skyscrapers that stand 16 stories tall. All 3 of the skyscrapers are on my side of the projects. There is building 1, 2, and 3. After getting up close and personal with the kids from Building 2, AK-30 Rock, attending Cefalo would get me close to the boys that lived in Building 3. While attending Cefalo, I had to catch a yellow bus in front of 2250 West 11th Street, aka Building 3. Big Rich, aka Daddy Rich, held us down when attending Cefalo. He was a big husky dude with glasses that not only wasn't afraid to put hands on anyone, but knew a little karate. I saw him chase a few big dudes through the projects. We got cool because we had to take a yellow bus to school. After the Brown versus Board of Education ruling, black kids had to integrate into white schools. Since Marlboro was the only black neighborhood in Bensonhurst, we took several buses to Cefalo. While waiting, we played tag or football until the bus came. Anyway, while in Cefalo, there was several racially motivated uprisings between black kids and Italian white boys. While in detention, a major brawl in the schoolyard broke out. Things got funky, but Daddy Rich's name is the only one I remember hearing putting it down. I'm sure it was others, but his name was ringing bells. He and a few other young boys was tossing garbage cans and refusing to back down. Might sound crazy, but a part of me wished that I was there. Something inside of my soul enjoyed a little physical activity. Missing the infamous brawl bothered me, but I had my share of incidents. I've been suspended 3 times for scrapping with someone, and the 4th time I would get expelled permanently. The final straw that got me kicked out of school was with a boy from Coney Island. I don't remember his name or his face, but for some reason every time he saw me, something slick flew out his big mouth. The dude was much bigger, so most of the time I just gave him an ugly look. I was in the 7th grade and knew that one more unruly outburst was going to have me in a new school. Not to mention, Mama Love was on me about displaying the violent rage in me. Till today I'm not sure what this boy's problem was, except that I lived in Marlboro. One day he pushed me to the point of no return. This would be the beginning of me realizing that there was an angry beast that lived in my soul. Blackout angry, sometimes deadly to myself. While heading into a classroom, I hear this clown's voice from behind. He says something real slippery and greasy. His comment made me fly something back at him while going into the classroom. He winds up to kick me, but instinctively, I avoided the violent attack. Then I blacked out. The first object my hands touched was a chair desk. I don't even remember dropping my book bag, but grabbed the desk with 2 hands and found myself in a hallway, swinging it recklessly. Tears were coming out of my eyes as I screamed repeatedly, "Kick at me again! Kick at me again!" I chased him down the hallway before a teacher put me in a bear hug from behind, but not before I had a chance to toss the desk at him as another teacher pulled him into a classroom out of harm's way. Kids were running and screaming throughout the hallway as I begged for the teacher to let me go. Something in me wanted to hurt this boy badly. By the time the blackout was over, I was no longer a student in Cefalo. That would be my first, but not my last altercation with a youngster from Coney Island. My knuckle game got a lot of activity with them boys in CI. But before that, I'd be put through gladiator school after being transferred to a new school and meeting a bona fide bully. This is the end of Story 9, the Don Kawand story. The realest life story ever told. If you know someone or you ever been bullied in school before, click like and share, because somebody needs to hear this.